Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Happy Memorial Day. It's certainly important to reflect on the tremendous sacrifice that so many have made in protection of our country. We will begin Sefer Bamidbar, chapter 1, verse 3. And Hashem gives Moshe an instruction to do a census on the Jewish males of Klal Yisrael. Chapter 1, verse 3, Mi ben esrim shana v'mala, from the age of 20 and up, Kayotzei tzava b'Yisrael, all those who go out to war in Israel, tifkedu osam tzivosam atav Aaron. You should count them by their legions, you and Aaron. Okay, so the question, of course, is obvious. Why only from 20 and up? And is it a military purpose? Is there some other function being served here? Is Kol, nice shot for Memorial Day, by the way, is Kol Yotzei Tzava referring to something else? I do want to say the other obvious question is why only males? That's a very fair question. If you understand this as being a military census, it makes sense. Presumably in those times, women did not fight at war, at least not normally. If it's not understood as a military census, then presumably the pshat is presumably it has to do with sort of the nature of the time. I want to emphasize that this was not an eternal mitzvah of counting here. This was a time where God said to count the Jewish people. And in those times, women were much more not public individuals and sort of in the background. And obviously, we do things very differently today. But that's presumably the practical pshat. If it's not a military idea, that presumes the practical reason why women weren't involved in the count. Okay, let's see the Ramban in Pasuk Gimel. Yotzei tzava b'Yisrael, magid she'ein yotzei latzava, pachas ben esrim. There's a significant detail that comes out of this, which is that if a person wouldn't go out to war younger than the age of 20, se'u es rosh kol adas b'nei Yisrael, k'mo she'orim l'kostenar arim reishei dedain, lashon Rashi. So there's a language from Rashi which Ramban cites, raise up the head of all of the congregation of Israel. And he says, it's like they say, it doesn't seem to be the most pleasant of images, pick that one's head up. It doesn't seem to be so lofty. The efsher, no pun intended, the efsher shia tam b'zeh, bavur sheinenu chazak la'milchama b'pachos me'esrim, b'kol amru ben esrim l'irdof. So it's possible that the significance of the age of 20 is that maybe if a person's younger than 20, they're not going to be a good warrior. They're not going to do well at war. And by the way, he cites this past week's Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, Ben Esrim Lidof, that when a person reaches the age of 20, that's a good time to go out and chase, presumably to go out and do things physical and things like that, but implying if one is younger than 20, it's not a good time for it. Avol Yitachin, Shia Perush Kol Yotzei Tzava, it could be that the pshat about whoever goes out to the legions is not a military statement. Rather, it's whoever goes out to be gathered in the congregation. When you gather together the people, that's not something to gather the children for. It's adults. So tzava, our normal, so tzava really means legion. By the way, one of the references to God is tzvakos, which is the God of the legions of heaven. That's the same word, tzava. So we associate tzava with the military legion, but it's not necessarily so. So maybe the pshat and kol yotzei tzava, whoever goes out to the legion, means whoever can be counted as part of community. It means of an adult age, 20 and up. V'chein litzvot tzava b'avodas v'amalek. Yashuv mitzvah avodah v'arosa tzavos asher tzavu. He gives all kinds of examples. Okay. Fine. Let's skip ahead now. So now he says, skipping about 10 lines or so, so in addition to now this discussion of why the age of 20, now the Ramban is very interested in the language of se'u, which we translated as count. And he cites a medrash which says that it's a language of prominence. When Yosef tells the servant of Paro after the dream that things are gonna look up for him, he says, Paro will raise up your head. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael, Nasati lochem di tilui rosh. I'm giving you, God says to the Jewish people, I'm giving you a elevation of the head. V'dimisi eschem li, and I'm comparing you to me. Kishem sheyesh li tilui rosh al kol bo'ei olam. Same way that I, God, stand above all those of the world. Shneimar, L'cho Hashem ha'mamlecha v'mistaseh l'chol rosh. Af lochem asisi tilui rosh. So to you also, we say God is elevated among all, l'rosh, as a head. So too, I make you, the Jewish people, above all other people of this world. Shneimar, su'us rosh chodas b'Yisrael. Vayarem keren lamo, like we say in the Tehillim, in Sukkot Zimra, Vayarem, in the Halukas, Vayarem keren lamo. God raised up a glory for his people. So that's the horn for his people. So that's the idea of Sa'ud, that God is treating the Jewish people as elevated over the rest of humanity. Okay. God has made you above all the nations of the land. Okay. Fine. So Kan Nas on Remez, the Moshe is skipping about 5 lines here. God gives the hint to Moshe, Su'as Rosh, Shim Yizku Yalu Ligadula. If they merit, they'll reach greatness. Vim Lo Yusku Yamusu Kulam. It's interesting. Yosef said twice to 2 different people about Paro raising the head. One of them, the idea was you'll be elevated back to your position. The other is Paro raise his head off of you. He'll raise your head off of you. It's another convenient thing that happens with the head when something unpleasant happens. So this is the remez. The remez is Moshe. The Jewish people essentially can soar or sink. And it's both included in the language of raising the head. Okay. Next Ramban, Tifkudu Osam, you should count them. Inyan Pekida, Zikaron Vashgacha al Davar. Even though we translate Tifkudu as like to charge or to count, the Ramban says the meaning is it's like looking over something or remembering something. We say when God decided to bless Abram and Sarah with a child, it says Vashem Pakada Sarah. God remembered Sarah. Okay, fine. Now, skipping about 5 lines, the Ramban is now very, very interested in a famous story from Navi. There was a juncture in Navi where David decided to count the people. And there ended up being a tremendous plague on the Jewish people because David had decided to count the people. So the obvious question is, we know that, you're supposed to count with the half shekel, you're not supposed to count by the head itself. So what did we know that David HaMelech did not know? What's the story with that episode? The Omer b'David, mispar mifkat ha'am, ki yada misparam b'fkidas hakofer, says the Ramban. When David counted the people, he counted them through giving money. In other words, that people gave money, each person that was counted gave money, and David counted up the coins, like we traditionally do. Ki rachok etzli, it doesn't make sense to me. Shlo yizor David b'mash amar kasav lo yevahem neged v'fkodosam. If you remember from Parsha Shkalim, not that long ago, around Purim time, right? Pesach time, that there shouldn't be for them a plague when you count them. And we learn that you're not supposed to count people directly by head. So if David not learned that pasuk, was David not in Shul for Parsha Shkalim? So he says, the pshat is, of course, David counted like with some kind of coin, just like they did in the Torah. David ta, lama lo asa Yoav Shkalim. And by the way, let's say David made a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes. So Yoav was a great man. Yoav was David's general, and Yoav even sort of objected in some way to what David did. So the Ramban says, so let me get this straight. You think David HaMelech didn't use coins, and not only did David HaMelech not use coins, but Yoav just kind of shrugged his shoulders and said, okay, I guess we're not going to use coins. Why would he do that? It's like a straightforward lesson in the Torah. Yoav was bothered by what David was doing. It says so in the pasuk. But if what Yoav was bothered by was the method of counting, Let Yoav just shrug his shoulders and count the people with coins. Let Yoav, David HaMelech wasn't walking around among the people saying 1, 2, 3. He commissioned Yoav to take care of it. So let Yoav take care of it in the halachically appropriate way, if that was the issue. The issue, says the Ramban, in the story of David was that he counted them unnecessarily. Kilo hayayotze l'muchama. David HaMelech was not leading the people out to war. V'lo haya'oseh bohem davar ba'es hahi. And there was nothing big going on that David HaMelech needed to count them. Rak l'sameach libo shemalach ala amrav. It was to bring him joy. That, thank God he was the king over a large nation. It's a nice feeling. It's a nice idea. So he wanted to count them. Ramban says that's what Yoav is saying to him. Look at the pasuk. Yoav says, gosh, Hashem should continue to add to the people. Why do you want to do this, king? The Ramban says that's exactly the point. Yoav is not saying the method is wrong. Yoav is saying, why are you doing this in the first place? There's no reason to do it. So Bamidbar Sinai Rabba, Amar Rabbi Elazar Shem Yosef ben Zimra, Kozman Shem Yisrael Tzorech Lo Chasru, Shalol Tzorech Chasru. So Rabbi Elazar says that there are times where it makes sense to count the Jewish people, but heaven forbid the times where it doesn't make sense to count the Jewish people, that leads to a loss, a passing of people from Klal Yisrael. Ezes man with Sorech, the Medrash says, what would be an example of there being counted for important function? Bimei Moshe Vadgalim v'chiluk aretz. One is this parsha, when it came to the setting up for the different formation in the desert, that each tribe was going to have its own spot, and so for that, presumably, you need to know how many people are in the tribe, so sort of seating plans and the like on a tribal level. And when you're talking about splitting up the land, it's very important to know who's who and how many. When you're splitting up the land of Israel, Shalol Tzarech, the Medrash says, what would be a classic example of counting Jewish people not for a good reason? Bimei David. That was an example of that, would be from the days of David. So that's the Ramban's first pshat. The Ramban discounts the possibility that David just counted in the wrong method. He says it must be the problem that David counted altogether. Yitacharot Farish Fenomar Ki David Siva Limnos Kol Ish Yisrael Ritzoni Lo Ben Shlosh Esrei Shana Lamala Shu Ish Klom Nizkar B'Minyan Ben Esim Shana V'Mala. Another possibility the Ramban says is maybe David counted from Bar Mitzvah and up, and the model laid out in the Torah is to count from 20 and up. V'Zeh won't show Ki Hakasav Lo Kir Shalimnos Kein Rak Ben Esim Shana V'Mala B'Shkalim. The allowance to count is A, with coins, but B, men 20 and up. So then the Ramban says it could be that this was a mistake from David HaMelech, because it's not explicit in the pasuk that you're not allowed to count younger than 20. The scenario in the pasuk is that you count from 20 and up. David HaMelech said, okay, I want to count from 13 and up. It's the same model, same method. So to that, the Ramban says, no, maybe the pshat is that was wrong, and David HaMelech didn't necessarily understand that was wrong. So that's another possibility. So again, we really just discussed this morning what the idea would be from the age of 20, what it means for the Yotzei Tzava, those who go out in the legions, and Ramban discussed this famous story of David HaMelech considered to have erred regarding the counting.